What's up guys, Lucas here, and today I'm going to be talking about the 2020-2021 NBA offseason. So yesterday I released a video on the Atlanta Hawks offseason, and the day before that the Houston Rockets, and today I'm going to be doing the New Orleans Pelicans. So if you like this content, please subscribe. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this offseason the Pelicans acquired Steven Adams from the Oklahoma City Thunder and Eric Bledsoe from the Milwaukee Bucks. They drafted Kira Lewis Jr. 13th overall. They signed free agents Raul Atkins from FC Porto, so a foreign player, Wayne Gabriel from Portland, Willie Hermy Gomez from Charlotte, Will Magny from another foreign team, Najee Marshall, who is undrafted, and Jared Utoff, who is from Washington. So yeah, a lot of no names that they signed. Leaving them in free agency is Drew Holiday, Darius Miller, Jahlil Okafor, Derek Favors, Zylan Cheatham, Josh Gray, Frank Jackson, Etuan Moore, Kenrich Williams, and yeah, that's it. And then staying is, so their roster is Steven Adams, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Raul Atkins, Ike Mbugo, Lonzo Ball, Eric Bledsoe, Tony Carr, Wayne Gabriel, Josh Hart, Jackson Hayes, Willie Hernan Gomez, Brandon Ingram, Kira Lewis Jr., Will Magne, Najee Marshall, Nicole Melly, JJ Redick, Cedarius Thornwell, Jared Uthoff, and Zion Williamson, sorry. So yeah, that's their free agency. So looking at their trades, obviously Steven Adams was the big one. They traded, I think, 2 first-round picks for Steven Adams. Let me check real quick. Yeah, so they traded a first-round pick, a Denver's 2023 first-round pick, 2 second-round picks, George Hill and Darius Miller for Steven Adams. So this is an okay trade in my opinion. I think they needed a center. Like last season, if you actually watched this team, which I did a lot of because they were on prime time all the time because people thought Zion was going to play. They always needed a center. They like when they only had Jackson Hayes and Derek Favors was out, that team struggled defensively and just rebounding in general. And once Derek Favors came back in the lineup, that's when that win streak happened, and they just played a lot better basketball once they had actual center. So I think Steven Adams will help them in that aspect, defense, rebounding, just setting screens, like just the things centers do. He's a tough center to pay that much money for, and especially giving up first round picks. He's not really an impact guy on offense. He can't do much more than what a basic center does for you. And it's also the fit next to Zion is definitely questionable. I think that they both are imposing. So I think like rebounding, this team could be one of the best rebounding teams in the league. And like setting screens with these two guys are going to be like, it's going to be a problem. But the spacing with them is going to be tough. And defense on teams like let's say the Celtics, for example, where they really have a center and then 4 guards, and it's like you're going to have to put Zion and Steven Adams. Steven Adams is always going to guard the center, and then Zion's going to have to guard a guard, where you would like to have more of a switchable 5 next to Zion. And Zion's definitely can be switchable, but as of right now, he's not showing that. So yeah, defensively with like switching, there's a little bit of a problem there, but I think the rebounding and screen setting and just like the imposing, like having those 2 big guys is just going to help them a lot. So I don't hate the signing. I think Steven Adams is going to help them win. It's just not like a huge jump. Like it's not like a great addition. Like I think some people overrate what Steven Adams does for you. I put him in similar vein to Aaron Baines, just a good player to have. That's what I see him as. And then Eric Bledsoe was in the Drew Holiday trade. I think for them, I think he's going to play for them, and I like him for them. Like he's either going to be a backup point guard or starting next to Lonzo or JJ, but I think coming off the bench is cooler, because I really do like their 3 guard rotation they have, or now 4 with Kira. But Lonzo is like a distributor, can play defense. He's been inconsistent on that end, but he's a good defender. And then you have JJ, who's a great shooter. Then you have Eric Bledsoe, who's a great defender. So you do have a lot of like versatility with your guards. You could have JJ and Bledsoe out there, with JJ being the shooter, Bledsoe being the main ball handler, and like he can make up for JJ's lack of defense. Lonzo and Bledsoe could be out there when you really need defense. Those two can lock up on most. That's like a pretty formidable backcourt defensively. And Lonzo is going to be the ball handler in that situation. And then also Lonzo with JJ, you get Lonzo's ball handling with JJ's shooting. So yeah, there's a lot of versatility with that backcourt. And then you also have Kira Lewis, who I'm going to talk about next. That was their draft pick. Ryan Russillo says that's his sleeper for this draft. I think he definitely is an interesting prospect because he has something you can't teach, which is speed. He's incredibly fast. And if you just look at the history of the league, besides Michael Flynn, I think his name was, Flynn, the guy who was picked right before Steph Curry, like most of the time, point guards who are fast stick in the league. Even if they're not stars, they end up like becoming rotation players. Like look at Ish Smith. Like, he's not a great player, but he's stuck in the league because he's a very fast guard, and just that's a good aspect to have if you're a guard. Like a quick dribble, quick off the dribble, just gets to holes quickly. So Kira Lewis, I could see him being like a good backup point guard. I think obviously decision making is going to be a bit of an issue, just because that was like one of the main concerns for him coming out of college, and he is just young, and point guards typically take longer than most positions in this league. But they also have their draft pick from last year, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He didn't show much last year. He was also struggled with decision making, but he does have a lot of confidence in his shot, and he obviously has abilities off the dribble, so maybe if he can refine his skills a little bit more, he could be there at fourth guard. And then other signings, Wayne Gabriel, I don't really see him. He was a good like energy guy for Portland off the bench last year. And whenever he occasionally come in, he rebounds well. He just plays hard. So maybe he'll give him some minutes, but he's not an incredibly skilled guy. I don't see him making that big of a leap this year anyway. Willie Hernan-Gomez, he's a good scoring big. I remember him on the Knicks. Very good scoring big, and good at rebounding, but defensively he struggles, and it's like kind of that old school scoring game, like kind of like an Enes Kanter type where you can't really play him. Like he's just he's good in certain matchups, I'd say. So yeah, looking at this team now, so the West is an incredibly competitive conference, and this team definitely wants to make the playoffs this year. I mean, they have hoping 2 All-Stars in Ingram and Zion, and then, or at least All-Star caliber. Lonzo Ball, who's like on the cusp of being, like he's, like there was a stretch of last year that he was looked at as like a borderline All-Star. Then in the bubble, he looked absolutely terrible. So it is, I think a lot of their success is going to rely on his improvement and his consistency as a basketball player. He just needs to, he was averaging like 17 and 9 and like a very good, like 17, 9 and 8, something like that. I don't know the exact numbers, but it was somewhere around there, and shooting 37% from 3 on like 6 attempts a game. And then when he got to the bubble, he just couldn't make anything. Like he just struggled to score on all, like at every level of offense. He couldn't finish at the rim, couldn't shoot, and was honestly not making the greatest decisions, was playing bad defense. He just didn't look good in the bubble. To be fair, the Pelicans didn't look great in the bubble. But yeah, a lot of what their success is going to be is going to hinder on Lonzo, because the thing is, Ingram is a scorer, but he's like an ISO scorer. Like he's going to get his points, I feel like, no matter what. He kind of reminds me of like a Chris Middleton in a way, or like ISO Joe, like a Joe Johnson, just like a guy who's going to get his 26. But Zion is the type where like you need someone to get him the ball in good positions, and Lonzo could easily do that. Like you just saw it last year, the amount of times Lonzo could throw it over the top for Lonzo when he's on a smaller defender, or if they front him, you just lob it up and he'll catch it. So I think there is a tremendous amount of potential with those two. So I do see this team making the playoffs, honestly. I think Zion's going to take that leap. I've heard so many good things from training camp coming from him, and I listened to the JJ Redick podcast, and usually if you're hearing stuff, they're never going to say bad things about a player, but JJ Redick is like praising him on his show, and if he wasn't doing well, I just don't think he'd talk about him, but he's like praising how much work he's doing and how in shape he is. So I do think Zion's going to take that step and be an all-star. Ingram, I think, is an all-star. You have Lonzo Ball, who as long as you have that talent around him, especially with JJ, like he's gonna, once he gets it figured out and gets his confidence back, because in the bubble he just lost his confidence, and I don't think that team ever hit their stride in the bubble. But if they can hit their stride, they do have a lot of talent around Ball, and Ball is like a kid type to me, where like he's an orchestrator. So I do see this team making the playoffs. I know that's tough because it's in the West, but I'm a little higher on them than most. The West does have a lot of good teams, but I do think they'll slip in there. So yeah, that's my video for today. If you liked it, please like and subscribe below, and you guys can catch me next time. See ya.